DeMar DeRozan says it's not about the money. What options do the Lakers have to sign him?
If it's really not about the money and he wants to put his money where his mouth is and he wants to sign for the Lakers mid-level exception, because that's the most they can offer any free agent that's not already theirs, that's less than $10 million.
Okay.
If he wants to sign for that, I'm sure the Lakers would pop out the checkbook in an instant. Other than that, you're looking at sign-and trade options. I don't know that there's any reason that San Antonio, with all the cap room they have, would be looking at doing a sign-and trade. After that, they don't have options. That's it.
Yeah, it's hard to, he did say that it's not about the money, but it's hard to think that he would want to maybe go that low, Rez. Do you realistically see this coming to fruition?
Yes and no. That's a huge pay cut from what he made last season, almost a $20 million dip if he wants to sign for about $9.5 million. But if you listen to what he said in this podcast, he said he wants to win. Remember, he was the guy who was traded for Kawhi Leonard, missed out on that championship in Toronto a few years ago. So maybe he's still feeling a little uptight about that. He wants to win a championship, and hey, he looked pretty good right next to AD and LeBron. A very good mid-range game. Love what he can do with his mid-range. Not a big three-point shooter. That's the only knock against him, but a pretty solid defender, too.
Watching the entire league and knowing how this goes, in 99% of the cases, I would say almost no shot whatsoever. The only thing is, this is the Lakers, and every once in a while, they pull one out of their hat.
Yeah.
So, is this that time?
Is this another Carmelo, Gary Payton, sure, we'll come for nothing situation? Who knows? It's possible. I still wouldn't call it likely, but once in a while, the Lakers pull that off.
And we've seen how he fits with other superstars. And we were talking before the show about guys that have played with him. Just Bradley Beal recently calling him one of his favorite teammates of all time. So we know he's a team guy, and LeBron and AD are going to get along with him. Allie, you and I've talked about, well, the pieces that are going to fit with that. We kind of want to see what that's going to look like. But when it comes to just AD and LeBron, how does he fit?
I think pace and tempo is going to be the biggest key and the biggest attribute that Russ can bring. Every single possession. I think you often heard it last year or a season ago, if you will, that they weren't playing up tempo enough. You know, they weren't out in the open floor really utilizing their strengths as much as they could. This guy provides that for you. I also think this, as much as we want to sit here and say that Russ coming to this team has to adjust, I think that we might see a different version of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You might see a little bit more of Anthony Davis at the center spot. You might see LeBron James playing the power forward a little bit more because he's got a guy like that he can count on, that he can trust and knows can stabilize the offense. Yeah. And so I think that's an angle which I don't think a lot of people are thinking about and talking about just yet. But that's where I would like to see it change.
Yeah. And Brad's brought up an interesting point earlier. His rebounding, okay? That fast break is going to start as soon as it touches his hands.
Rebounding guards.
He's not going to be looking to outlet pass anybody. He might take 3 or 4 dribbles, get it going, and then give it up. But I think that with his rebound ability, and he's a guard that understands that guards don't box out, guards don't rebound, and he gets a lot of them on both ends. So when he gets it, their fast break is in gear immediately. So we'll see how that unfolds.
On a nightly basis, for a team that's trying to win a championship like the Lakers, what does he bring you?
Attitude and perseverance every night. He's not going to give up. He's going to put so much pressure on you that I don't think he makes defenses give up, but I think he just makes them say, damn, I don't know what else to do, because he comes at you so hard every second he's on the play. He's a shot maker. He's a closer. He can finish at the rim. I love his 15-foot range, the way he can back you up and pull up. So I also think he's led. You see what he did with Washington this year? At the end of the season, he was, coming on strong. And I just think he's a leader. I think he knows what LeBron wants. In LeBron's last few years, LeBron definitely knows that Russ wants a championship. So, yeah, he gives you another closer. You got LeBron, you got AD, and now you have the trio together.
Yeah, he might not give the Lakers one of the boxes that need to be checked. Shooting, okay, 31% from three-point range last season. That's not that great. But he fulfills the playmaking piece. So much pressure on LeBron last season, especially when AD went down in February. He had to be the guy to make this offense go.
Yeah.
Now he can cruise a little bit. Now you have a guy like Russell Westbrook, who gets, pretty much a triple-double every game. By the way, just a few months ago, back in May, set the all-time NBA record with his 182nd triple-double, passing Oscar Robertson, and also 11.5 rebounds a game for a point guard. Only 5 guys in the entire NBA had more rebounds than that. That's pretty strong stuff right there.
Something James said hit me, and I want to throw it to you because you already kind of touched on what the Lakers get on a nightly basis, and I agree with what both of you said. Russell Westbrook still desperately wants a championship ring. That's why he plays. How important is it for teams to add guys like that to a roster that already has championship rings, a guy that's hungry and still cares about the regular season and still has the eyes on the prize, and he's never been more hungry? It's important in your eyes?
I think absolutely. I think it's a renewed energy, if you will, that you're adding to the locker room. He's surrounding him with guys who are proven winners, who he apparently, as we see in different exchanges throughout the course of the season, on social media or whatnot, who he believes in to take him to that place. Russell Westbrook's also a guy, let's not forget, that during his time in OKC was up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals to go to the finals, who has been right there.
Right there.
And so I think, as we've all talked about, someone who wants to give it and will give it every single day, night in and night out, allowing teammates around him, just as much as he makes them better, to make him better. I always say that about leaders. The ones that are willing to lead also will be led. And I think that's something that Russell can bring to this locker room, but also guys in the locker room that are already here can help take him to a place that he has not been. Russell freaking Westbrook. I mean, what went through your minds? I know when I saw it, it came across the Twitter feed of mine. I picked up the phone. I called Geeter. He didn't answer, of course. And then I called him again, and he didn't answer again. And then he called me back.
But I told you why.
In line at the grocery store.
Yeah, I was at the grocery store, and I saw an old friend, and he and I were talking. And literally, one of the guys that works at the store that always talks to me about Lakers comes walking by me. He's like, "We're getting Westbrook," and I kind of blew him off. I was like, "No, I don't think so." I don't know. And he just kept walking. By the way, I looked at my phone. I had 54 texts. What was going on? Allie, a missed call. I realized what happened. I had to go back to where he worked over at the pokey section and say, "By the way, yes, Westbrook's coming." So I don't know. For me, guys, I don't know. I still think I'm a little bit in shock over it. It's interesting. He wasn't on my number one. He wasn't number one on my wish list. I wasn't thinking about it a lot. Actually, it was Allie and Voice of God, Be More, our producer, that kind of put it out there a couple of weeks ago. We've talked about it on our podcast. But now that he's here, and I've had some time to think about it, and we've done a live show, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, man. He's a guy that gives you everything he has every single night. He's got a motor that is basically unmatched. I think James said it on our live show. He's got 2 hearts in his chest. I mean, he's going to fight until the very end. He wants to win a ring. He's back home. He's a great teammate. He's a triple-double machine. I think I'm more just curious now what's going to go around these guys. That's really the part of the puzzle that I'm more intrigued about. You have a chance to get a Hall of Famer. I mean, you do it. And I know it costs a lot of money, and I know it takes up all the cap space. I get that. But you have a guy that's an all-star every single year and a Hall of Famer, James.
Absolutely. And when you can get a player like Russell in his prime and add him to 2 other Hall of Famers, you talk about LeBron. He's a magnet. He's a magnet. People want to win, and they know that he has the formula to at least get to the finals a lot. And when you throw AD in there, and you got to get a front office some credit too, the Lakers haven't been able to just bring in these type of players like this over the last. We were struggling to get people in here. Even we had Kobe in his latter years. We got some old players, Nash, Dwight Howard with a bad back, So I think it's great that we have superstar players that attract people like Russell Westbrook, who now wants to win. This is his window, and he's seen it with LeBron and AD. He knows how that works. He's going to bring a tremendous amount of extra dimension to this team. He does everything
for sure
on both ends. A rebounding guard that can start to break, and the Lakers want to run. I think that's a major asset. The pressure he can put on defenses by getting to the cup, pulling up for that little 10-footer, 15-footer is deadly. And I think he's in the right mindset now. He's played with, the Durant, Harden in Oklahoma. Went to Houston. So he's played with future Hall of Famers, and I think he's in the right place and the right space now, especially coming in here with AD and LeBron, to know exactly what needs to be done in order to elevate this team and, get them to championship level.
James, great points. Geet, I'm kind of like you. I'm still a little stunned that this happened, okay? The Lakers' big splashy trade was supposed to be 2 years ago with AD. You give up 3 really good young players, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, a ton of first-round picks, and you get Anthony Davis back. The cupboard was bare as far as young players and first-round draft picks. And what does Rob Pelinka pull off on draft day? He gives up 3 guys who really struggled in the playoffs or didn't even really have an impact in the playoffs, a.k.a. Montrez. A first-round pick this year, 22nd overall. And it's another